Ooh, what is going on, y'all? It's your boy RickyMoto, or F32 Panda, back at it again. And today, I'm going to be talking about my wheel setup and some things that have went wrong with it. But before we get to that, let's take a look at the front end over here. I just put on this front lip and the struts, which I wrapped in Miami blue to match basically the V-brace inside. Kind of hard to tell on camera, but it's the same color and it looks freaking sick. This was like some universal lip that I got on eBay for like 60 bucks. Pretty cheap, but it's pretty sturdy. There's a lot of bolts put into it. It's like a 4-piece. The center piece is like split in the middle. That's where it connects. And then obviously this is another section which I had to put a bolt on the outside in order to clamp this area because it was kind of like a little gap over there. So let's talk about these wheels, which is what this video is about. So these are the 666M style Replica BMW comp wheels, and these are 19 inches all around. The fronts are 8.5 inches in width. The rears are a 9.5, so it's a pretty beefy staggered setup. Now I opted for these 19 inches rather than getting the 20-inch version because I didn't want it to rub. And I gotta say, these 19 inches do actually rub sometimes, especially on bumps. The suspension basically compresses all the way, and that's why the vinyl over here is already like jacked up. But yeah, these wheels, ever since I got them, has been just problematic, honestly. And I mean, everyone kind of says the same thing about 19-inch wheels on these type of chassis. The thing is, when you get a rim that is this big, at 19 inches, your tire doesn't really have much space to fit. So you have to basically get some low-profile tires, which are really, really thin. The tire setup that I have on all four is a 245, 35, 19. So it's a pretty wide setup, but the 35 sidewall is really slim, as you can see. This is the 35 sidewall, and it's only about like a inch, I don't know, like an inch and a half to 2 inches, I'd say. So it's not a lot of rubber on the sides, and so because of that, you get really, really harsh ride quality. I will say that the handling of these tires are really nice because it's really wide and there's a lot of contact patch touching the ground. It's so rough. You feel every little crack in the road. Now, if you have nice smooth roads, this is where a setup like this would shine. But, I live in New York where the roads are pretty ass, I gotta say. A lot of potholes, very, bumpy and jagged. It basically feels like I'm riding on sandpaper is what it feels like. Now, the tires, I have Michelin Pilot Sport All-Season 4s. Except for this passenger side one, I actually blew out one of the tires. So I have like this replacement one. I don't even know what it is. Lexini or something? I don't know. It was like the cheapest thing that a tire shop had of the size that I wanted. All of them are all-season tires. It's New York, so the weather is hella bipolar. So, you got to be able to withstand all the conditions. Now, another thing about this setup is that it constantly leaks air. I don't know if it's because I did something wrong or I got the wrong size or something, but all of them have been leaking from this valve stem. It doesn't have any bead issues like on the rims, whatever, on the edge, but it's always from the valve stem that it just keeps on leaking. It's like a slow leak. And what I had to do is on 2 of the rims, I had to get the valve replaced along with the TPMS sensors. And that's another thing. The TPMS sensors keep on failing on this setup. Now, with the OEM rims that I had, the 17 inches with a 7.5 width, they also had TPMS sensors in it, but those never had issues. So I feel like the reason why the TPMS sensors on these are failing is because of how thin a tire is. The sensor is basically banging onto the floor and it breaks. And so what happens is the valve stem starts to leak. And speaking of, I got to go to the tire shop right after this video because that tire over there needs a valve stem replacement again. So a total of 3 valve stem replacements. The one on the other side, the rear left side, that one hasn't had any issues, luckily. But the reason why I keep pointing at this passenger side rim is because this one is the most problematic. This thing is so prone to hitting potholes, and when it does hit, it's really bad because that's how the tire blew initially on this wheel. Basically, like the sidewall like stripped and the air is completely leaked. And then recently, look at that. My rim is actually dented. There's a bend right here. It kind of just dips down a little bit from a nasty pothole. It's kind of hard to see on camera, but in person, it's really bad. I guess from this angle, you can kind of see it, how it's not like a flush circle. It just dips down, but it's not to the point where it's undrivable. This one's not really leaking at all, There's no air coming out from here, so I'm still able to actually use this wheel. But yeah, that just shows that 19-inch rims are so problematic, not only for ride quality, tire issues, and valve stem issues, and they're so prone to getting bent like that because of how big the rim is compared to the tire. And also there's a whole bunch of curb rash everywhere. Now that's just probably my poor driving, honestly, but literally every rim has been curbed, and I don't even get that close to the edge, honestly. I tend to actually park really far from the curb. I leave about a foot, which is more than what you're supposed to do, but that's because I try not to curb my rims and they still end up getting curbed. So yeah, kind of annoying, I gotta say. So yeah, that's the situation with the 19-inch rims. Honestly, I wouldn't recommend getting 19-inch rims as much as they look nice. So the plan here is I eventually plan on getting new rims, and I was planning to do that anyway before all these issues started arising. I want to get 18-inch rims instead. I heard they're a lot softer because the rim is smaller, so you have bigger tire, and it's not going to be so prone to, breaking as easily. So yeah, I'm thinking about getting a 18-inch wheel setup, and I'm thinking about going even wider than this. So like I said, currently the front is an 8.5, rear is a 9.5. What I'm planning to do is do a 9.5 for the front, and then a 10.5 for the rear. Now, I don't know if that's going to work. I just hope it works and it fits. I'm thinking temporarily if that passenger side rim, the bent one, if it's going to start having issues where it's like vibrating or I have a leak, what I'm going to plan to do is just put the rear wheels, both of them, to the front. These are 9.5s. Pop them to the front and get the 10.5-inch rim. You just pop it on the rear. So I have kind of like a mix-matched, different style wheel setup. Like the front will be these comp wheels. The back will be a different type of rim. I don't plan on getting the 4 new rims just yet because I plan on putting a wide body on this eventually, and I want to get the fitment right. So yeah, that's just worst case scenario. If that tire or that rim is having issues, then I'll have to just buy a set of 2 rims just for now, just to pop it onto the rear. Now, another option that I was thinking about doing is just switching back to the OEMs all around, but I just hate the OEMs so much. They drove like ass because they're so thin, and the tires on that are awful. They're always like losing traction. So yeah, I wouldn't recommend getting 19-inch rims for your F30 or F32 or any coupe, really, unless you live in a place with nice roads. But in New York, it's a definite no. So yeah, I'm gonna get a new wheel setup eventually. I'm gonna go for 18s. Now I want to also show you guys this car over here. This is my brother's Model Y Performance. These actually also have low profile tires, but they have no issues. Same exact tire setup as well, with 35 sidewall and a Michelin Pilot Sport All Season 4s. And the ride quality on these are actually really good. They're really plush, but I think that's also because of the suspension. These are the sport suspensions, so they're a lot better quality, I'd say. And because it's a lot higher, it's a lot softer. That car is on stock suspension. It's not lowered. A lot of people think it's lowered, but that's just how low that car sits OEM. I know the X-Drive sit a little higher, but this is the non-X-Drive, it's the rear-wheel drive model. So because of that, the front end sits a little lower than the rear end. Let me know in the comment section below if you have any suggestions on what I should do or any wheel suggestions you guys have. But yeah, that concludes this video. It's been your boy RickyMoto or F32 Panda, and I'll see you in our next one.